Students, let's start with chapter 2, acid, bases and salts. So you might be thinking that while lemons are sour, you might have tasted the lemon before, and you might have seen that when you handle the soap and water, it is sometimes slippery and it slips off from your hand. So to understand all these, we should understand what is an acid, what is a base, what is a salt, and to understand that we should know the basics of chemistry. And what is chemistry? Let's understand. It is all about the study of matter. So matter is present everywhere, all around us, in and around you and me. So what does matter do? It occupies space, it attracts each other, it is continuously moving, and also with the help of kinetic energy. So in previous classes you might have learned the simple basics of matter, that is matter is of three types, that is solids, liquids and gases. So as on when you have come to the higher classes, you have again got to understand that matter is not only solid, liquid and gases, but also it is subdivided into elements, compounds and mixtures. So again, in the previous class you have also studied about suspensions, solutions and colloids. So let's have a short recap of what is a solid. Solids are denser and packed with no intercellular spaces. You can see that solids like chalk, duster, etc., they do not have space between them. They are tightly packed. So let us understand what is a liquid. Liquids have some space, that's why they are able to move. So gases have a lot of spaces and large distances in between them. So let us understand now what is an element. Element is a substance which is made up of one type of atom. So let's see now compounds. Chemically bonded substance formed from one or more elements is known as compounds. So next comes the mixtures. Mixtures are of two types, homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures. You have studied in the previous class about when you studied about the matter, that mixture is a material made up of two or more different substances which are physically combined. So when they are physically combined with two or more substances, they are known as mixtures. For example, there are certain mixtures, they dissolve in water, some are not dissolvable in water, they do not dissolve in water or any other solution. So let us understand the types of mixtures. They are homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. So what is homogeneous mixture? A uniform mixture is known as a homogeneous mixture. For example, when you take water in your daily life, you can see that availability of sugar or salt in your home. When you add some amount of sugar into the water and dissolve it, it's completely getting dissolved. It is known as homogeneous mixture. So what is heterogeneous mixture? It is having a non-uniform composition. That is, when you mix with water or any other substance or solutes or solvents, solute and solvents, they do not dissolve. They form a separate layer. For example, oil and water. When you add some amount of oil in water, you can see the separation of layers, or the oil floats in water. So let us understand now the different types of matter has been subdivided again into suspensions, solutions and colloids. So what is a suspension? So we have seen that what is a heterogeneous mixture. So heterogeneous mixture where solid particles do not mix in liquid solution. When solid particles do not mix in liquid solution, they are known as suspensions. Suspensions are particles that float in the liquid. So what is a solution then? So solution, so substances, it's a homogeneous mixture. So let us understand what is a colloid. So it is a mixture where one substance, that is one particular substance, is split into different very small minute particles. So that is known as a colloid. So it's not only that classification of matter can be subdivided into solids, liquids, gases, elements, compounds, mixtures, suspensions, solutions and colloids, but also they can be classified as acids, bases and salts. That's we are going to learn in this chapter. So where do we encounter? Encounter means where do we use or utilize the acid and base in our daily life. So you can see that acids that you use in your daily life is yogurt. So yogurt consists of lactic acid in it, lemon consists of citric acid, vinegar consists of acetic acid, and phosphoric acid are those we find naturally in the daily life, the substances that we use in our daily life. So we use yogurt, lemon, vinegar, etc. in our cooking or having food. So what are bases then? Bases that we encounter in our daily life is baking soda. Baking soda is used in some of our cooking materials. So it uses to ferment the product. So bases are also found and made up of to make sure that the detergent is formed. So it is also used in antacid. What is an antacid? For example, ENO. So when we have a problem with acidity, we take acids can be reduced by use of a base. So a basic substance is present in the antacid, so that will reduce our acidity. So let's understand what do acids taste like. So acids taste sour, base tastes bitter, salts, as you all know, it is salty, and so understanding acid, bases and salts, so you can see that some of the examples here wherein it's given the citric acid, phosphoric acid and some of the acids that has been used to produce electricity. So acids taste sour. It reacts with some metals to give off what type of gas? As it gives off hydrogen gas. So bases, so you can see some of the bases here that tastes bitter, feels slippery as soap, dissolve fats and oils. So you can see that the pH, hydrogen ion concentration of a solution, is measure of hydrogen ion concentration in a solution. That is, pH is the concentration or the measure of how much percentage of hydrogen ion is present in that particular solution. On a scale, it starts from 0 to 14. And lower pH solutions are strong acids. That is, pH, you can see the pH scale here. So it is below 7 it is acidic, and in between 7 it is neutral, and lower pH solutions are strong acids. So 0 to 6 is a strong acid here, 7 is neutral as is water, as in water pH 7 is neutral, and from 8 to 14 you can see basic. So you can see that, so what would happen if all of us never spoke, like a silent movie? So you can see that it is so boring and also so even in the chemistry, if we do not understand the simple basics of acids, bases and how they work, and to know how interesting they are. So let's understand the stability of an atom. Stability is very important for an octet configuration. So what is octet configuration? It is that the atom has KLM shells that needs to be filled of octet configuration. So this is to have 8 electrons in its outermost shell of an atom. So most atoms jump around, interact, and also shed their electrons, stealing electrons. Some of the electrons give off the electrons and also some of them take off their electrons. So bondings also form between metals and metals, non-metals and metals, and non-metals and non-metals. So ions, like we'll understand now what is an ion. So when an atom sheds or loses or gains electron to obtain octet configuration or stability is known as an ion. So you can see that it loses or gains electron. So hydrogen atom, we can see that hydrogen atom has 1 electron in its outermost shell, that is the K shell. It loses its electron to become hydrogen ion, that is H plus ion, which doesn't have any electron but has only protons. So in the figure you can see in hydrogen ion, that is proton is present in the nucleus and you can see in the first shell, that is K shell, you have 1 electron that is marked in yellow, and either it can lose or gain the electrons to obtain the octet configuration is known as an ion. So let's understand behavior of an atom. So when an atom always wants to steal electron, it is electronegative. So it is electronegative. Most of the non-metals, see like non-metals are electronegative, they are short of electrons, means to fill the outermost shell and become octet, they are short of electrons. So electronegative atoms are highly unstable, that is they need 1 or 2 electrons to fill their octet and complete their octet configuration. So for example, we'll take oxygen. So you can see that atomic number is 8. So here in the figure you can see that oxygen in the first shell always, that is K shell, will have always 2 electrons for any of the atoms, and from the L, M and N next shells onwards it needs to fill the total electrons to be 8 to become octet configuration. So you can see that atomic number is 8 here, and first shell has 2 electrons. The next shell, how many remaining now? If 2 of the electrons has been utilized in the first shell, so remaining is the 6. 6 gets placed in the second shell. So you can see that oxygen requires more 2 electrons to complete its octet. So you can see that electronic configuration, that is first shell is 2, second shell is 6, 2, 6, outer shell is 6, so it needs 2 to become octet configuration. So it will receive 2 electrons from other atoms to become octet. So what is an electropositive atom? So it's a confused metalloid. You can see atoms give, so electronegative atoms take the electrons, electropositive atoms give their electrons. So positive, always keep in mind that positive, we have a positive mind for giving, sharing and caring, means that we are positive in nature. Wherever positive comes, you need to think that these atoms will give their electrons. So electronegative, wherever negative thoughts, that is stealing things, cheating and grabbing things, you can see that here this atom also has electronegative in nature. It says give me the electrons to fill the electronic configuration. So you can see that metalloids are totally confused. Atoms give electrons to electronegative atoms. That is, these give, share electrons, fill their octet or fill the shell, and they give the electron to their atoms or electrons to the electronegative atoms and become stable. But metalloids here do not understand to give or take the electrons. So let's understand the types of bonds. So there are three different types of bonds. They are ionic bond, covalent bond and metallic bond. So atomic interactions takes place by forming bonds between them. So one atom can interact with other by forming bonds between them. So you can see the example ionic bond. So sodium, chlorine. So you can see that sodium plus chlorine becomes NaCl, that is sodium chloride. Covalent bonding, here it is going to share its electrons to become, because K shell, that is the first shell, needs 2 electrons per atom. So hydrogen has only one atom and one more hydrogen has one atom. So what they do is they togetherly join, they form covalent bond as shown in this figure, and they will share their electrons to form the first shell as 2. So ionic bond, when an highly electropositive atom, means I have told you that electropositive atom will always give its electrons, meets a highly electronegative atom, means electronegative atom always takes an electrons. So when highly electropositive atom and electronegative atom combine or meet together, they form ionic bond. So electropositive atoms give up electrons. As electropositive atoms give up electrons, they have another name, they are also called as cations. So electronegative atoms, they are ready to gain the electrons from the electropositive atoms and are also called as anions. So anion plus cation will form an electrostatic attraction. So you can see that single atom anion means it will be suffixed by IDE, like fluorine is fluoride, chlorine, chloride, oxygen, that is oxides. So Na plus Cl, it is sodium plus chlorine becomes sodium chloride. So in this diagram you can see that sodium has 11 atomic number, K shell 2, L shell, that is so L shell is 8 and again M shell it has 1. So here you can see that sharing of electron, that is sodium is going to give its electron to the chlorine. So covalent bond. So when two electronegative atoms interact, two electronegative atoms means each of the atom needs an electron or 2 electrons to form octet or a particular stable configuration. Partial electron positive atom interact, a covalent bond is formed. So in the figure you can see that one hydrogen atom has 1 electron, one more hydrogen atom has 1 electron. This will give highly instability to the atom. So these two combine. So these two combine together to form 2 electrons. Here one atom will share electron reluctantly, other half will share half-heartedly. So you can see here the pairing up of hydrogen atoms. So atomic number for hydrogen atom is 1, mass number is 1, K shell maximum 2 electrons. So once it becomes pairing, 2 electrons are formed and hydrogen it becomes H2, that is stable hydrogen molecule. So one hydrogen shares its electron with the other. Metallic bond. So they are electropositive in nature, that is they might shed their electrons or give their electrons. A metallic bond is sharing of many detached electrons and between many positive ions, where electrons act as glue, giving substance a definite structure. As in the figure you can see that there are a lot of electrons and protons and a bond formed between when metal atoms share their electrons. When metal atoms share their electrons, a bond is formed between them as shown in the figure. So it forms a metallic bond. So let's understand that we always know that metals are good conductors of electricity. So light free electrons move easily, and negative charge coming in can push the seal of electron to the current. So lot of electropositive atoms are trapped in a single space of electrons they share. Here you can see that a battery is connected to the wire, and also it has been connected to a bulb. So metals conduct electricity as they have delocalized electrons. So metals conduct electricity because they have delocalized electrons, and electrons can move freely and they carry the electric current. So how can we generate electricity from water? So you can see that salt solution consists of sodium chloride, that is Na plus and Cl minus. It has positive and negative ions. So these some charged ions are required to conduct the electricity. So we can see that you have negative and positive terminal, that is electropositive and electronegative atoms are required to generate the electricity from water. So what is now, as we think, Arrhenius acid and base. So Arrhenius is the name of the person who named acid and base. So you can see that, so in a beaker you have taken water and you add some amount of hydrochloric acid, which is positive, and H2O, that is any substance that when added to water increase in H plus ion. So hydrogen ions are increased in water when an acid is added, so it is known as Arrhenius acid. So what is then Arrhenius base? Here base is added to the water, sodium hydroxide, NaOH. So it will increase the number of OH minus ions, that is hydroxide ions, is known as Arrhenius base. So let us understand what is hydrogen and hydroxide ions. A hydrogen ion is created when a hydrogen atom loses or gains an electron. So hydrogen atom, either it loses or it gains an electron, it forms an hydrogen ion. So then what is hydroxide ion? So hydroxide ion is negatively charged molecule, and it is made up of one oxygen bonded to one hydrogen. So one oxygen, so here you can see that there is an example of water molecule. It splits, that is ionization happens, it splits into one hydrogen and one oxygen, that is hydroxyl ion or hydroxide ion, and one hydrogen is released and it is known as hydrogen ion. So let us understand what are acids. So acids are defined as which produces hydrogen ions in water. So keep in mind that acids always produce hydrogen ions or H plus ions. For example, sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4, hydrochloric acid, HCl, nitric acid, etc. They give a sour taste. So how do you test for the acid? So you can see that blue litmus turns to red. You can understand that the reddish indicates the presence of acid. This is used to confirm the presence of acid. So when acid reacts with metals, what happens when acids react with metals? They form gases. So let's know the general properties of acids. So initially we have understood that they produce hydrogen ions when added, that is when an acid is added to water, they form hydrogen ions, that is H plus ions. This needs to be kept in mind. Next is the taste. They are sour in taste. Then how you test the acid, that is blue litmus paper test, that is when you dip into the acid or any solution to understand whether it is a base or an acid, you can see that blue litmus will turn to red for an acid. It also acts as an electrolyte solution, that is electrical conductivity or conducts electricity, that is Na plus and Cl minus ions or sodium chloride solution. It also neutralizes solution carrying hydroxide ions, that is, it neutralizes bases, that is OH minus ions. It also reacts with metals and also releases what gas? It is hydrogen gas has been released. It also reacts with carbonates. When it reacts with metals, keep in mind that the acids releases hydrogen gas. When it reacts with carbonates, it is going to release carbon dioxide. So acids are very much dangerous for our tissues. So a small amount of concentrated H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid, falls on our hand or any part of the body, it gets burnt and that cell tissues or body tissues are destroyed. And also acids can corrode metal surface quickly. So let's understand uses of acids. So as I told, H2SO4 or sulfuric acid, it is known as the king of acids. So where are they used? They are used in batteries, fertilizer manufacturing companies, oil refineries and ore processing. So you can see that it's not so safe to handle sulfuric acid in open. You need to have protective equipments and to be very careful while handling H2SO4. It is hazardous when it comes in to our skin contact. It is also hazardous in the case of eye contact of ingestion. That is, sometimes it happens accidental spillage of sulfuric acid into our eyes can get damaged. So it also causes tissue damage, respiratory tract infections, and also it totally burns the respiratory tract infections, mouth burns, etc. So it also produces burns to our skin. So what is HCl? Next acid we will see, hydrochloric acid. It is used in cleaning of metals, bricks and removing scales, that is formed in the boilers. So that is also removed. So we have understood that what are the uses of HCl. We will understand now how the rusting of copper. So you can see that rusting of copper can be removed by using hydrochloric acid. It's an example we can give, that Statue of Liberty. So let's understand a small history behind Statue of Liberty. So it was a gift from France to USA. And it is about 91.5 meters tall and weighs 210 tons. The outer cover of the statue is made of 300 overlapping copper plates. You can see 300 overlapping copper plates. So initially when it was gifted, it was almost copper brown in color. So as it came into exposure to moisture, that is air and moisture, you can see that now it has turned to green in color. So this, I do not say that Statue of Liberty whole thing can be cleaned with HCl, but I just gave an example of how Statue of Liberty or copper can be rusted when it comes in exposure to air and moisture. But a small metals which got rusted, copper metals which is going to get rusted, can be utilized to remove the rust by using HCl. So you can see in the picture here a Statue of Liberty. So in the left side figure shows you about the year 1886, so when the France had given it to USA. So it was almost copper brown in color, but right now today we can see it as green. So it has been corroded. The outer layer is corroded, but inner layer it takes more time because we have seen that it is almost 300 plating inside. So uses of acids being continued here. Let's understand more acids. So phosphoric acid, it is used in Coca-Colas and also it's used in removal of rusts. So that's why we say that you should not drink aerated drinks. So lactic acid. So lactic acid is used in lotions and also it is found in yogurt, the everyday usage of yogurt. So acetic acid, it's found in vinegar. So you have seen that vinegar has been used in households. So you might be thinking that vinegar consists of acetic acid. How much percentage? It's only 5% used vinegar. So how do you make 5% of vinegar now? Usage of acetic acid. Say we take 100 ml, we want to make 100 ml of vinegar. So 5 ml will be acetic acid and remaining 95 ml will be water, that is distilled water. Next is boric acid. Boric acid is used as an antiseptic. So hydrocyanic acid, it's very dangerous and it is used in plastic manufacturing. So let's understand. So right now we have seen how acids, what are acids, the general properties of acids. We have seen how some of the uses of acids have been done. So let's understand now what is a base. So acids, we have seen that they release hydrogen ions into the aqueous solution, but here it's the cases, it releases hydroxide OH minus ions in the aqueous solution. So let us understand the uses of bases. So first use of sodium hydroxide, NaOH. So here we can see that whenever you write the symbol, Na is for sodium. So first letter N is to be capital, A is small letter. So you can see that sodium is a metal. It is used in acid neutralization and soap making. It is also used to neutralize the acids and also it is used in manufacturing of soaps. Potassium hydroxide. Potassium hydroxide is a liquid soap and also it is used in biodiesel fuels. So lithium hydroxide, next you can see here lithium hydroxide, it is used in alkaline storage batteries. It's used in storage batteries. So let's understand properties of bases. Previously also we have discussed that what does base taste like. It is bitter in taste, like the bitter gourd. If you have tasted bitter gourd, you need not taste the base or the acids. So do not ever taste the acids. It's very dangerous. So to understand the taste, you have already tasted some of the acids in the daily life. So you need not test some other synthetic acids for it. So dilute aqueous solution of bases are slippery, like soap. Bases change color of indicators, like bases in acids we have seen that blue litmus turns red. Here in bases we can see that red litmus will turn to blue. So bases reacts to acids to produce a salt and water. So what happens when base reacts with acid? A base will react with acid to produce a salt and water. So let's understand here what is ionization. So it is separation of respective ions, that is H plus and OH minus ions. It doesn't separate as it is in normal condition. It needs some change, that is by heat or electric discharge or a chemical reaction should happen. So ionization should take place. Like nitric acid in aqueous solution will ionize into hydronium ion, that is H plus ion, and nitrate ion, that is NO3 minus ions. So let's understand Bronsted-Lowry theory. Here according to Bronsted-Lowry, he said that acid is a proton donor. So proton is positive in charge. Base is a proton acceptor. So what does acid do? Acid always donates and base always accepts. H plus is a proton. If you remove one electron from hydrogen atom, then only one proton is left. So according to Bronsted-Lowry theory, hydrogen ion is a donor. Bronsted-Lowry base is hydrogen ion acceptor. So here you can see that hydrogen atom, one electron is there, it has been removed or it has been given off. So ammonia plus water gives rise to ammonium, of addition of hydrogen ion and release of hydroxide ions. Ammonia is a base and it accepts a proton from water. So don't get confused. Bases always accepts either it is a proton or an electron. Acids always they are ready to share or give their electrons. So that's all for this first part. I'll be continuing the second part in the next set of videos. Thank you for listening.